All right, in today's video, I got a question about what are the best foods to eat to lose body fat. And I'm gonna add to that caveat and say, like, these are the best foods that you should eat to keep body fat off. Let me start by showing you, how I used to look and what I maintain right now. This is how I look every day, about 6'3", 210 pounds, probably around 10% body fat, a little bit higher, a little bit lower, depending on the day. But the overall goal for me is to find that perfect balance. And as a coach, I really want to give you guys the tools so that you can do this yourself. And it's a question I get asked even in public, like if I'm at a restaurant, and I just want to start this off by saying, there are no foods that I avoid. There are no foods that I feel like I have to eat, yet there are certain foods that I feel like are very beneficial for getting lean and staying lean. I focus always on protein. So if you don't know what protein is, it's a building blocks, not only for muscle, but all of the cells in our bodies require protein. So protein is just a good idea. But protein can be a bit tricky, especially when you're traveling. I find that getting lean sources of protein, meaning they are mostly protein and not fat, can be tricky. So the first things first, when it comes to a protein source, I love things like protein powders because they're typically very low in calories, but very high in protein. I also like to focus on things like eggs, because you can have egg whites with no fat, or if you want to get a little bit of fats, you can have some fats in there by having the yolk and having the whole thing. And then you can get some leaner sources of protein throughout the day. Obviously, meats are varying to certain degrees. There's even some great vegan sources if you choose to go that way. But whenever someone says to me, like, what foods do you eat to get lean? They're asking the wrong question, okay? Because it's not the foods. It's the amount of the food that you eat versus your lifestyle, right? So you'll see people that can eat a tremendous amount of food and not get fat or put on fat or stay lean, but their lifestyle is probably very conducive to this. Likewise, you'll see people that seem like they don't really eat much and yet they're obese or they can't lose weight. Typically, these people are restricting calories most of the time, but when they go off plan, they go way off plan. So it's not the foods that are the problem. Now, if you don't know how to set up a diet and you want some help, I've got a free calculator that's going to give you your ideal protein, carbs, and fats for whatever your goal is. Putting on muscle, losing body fat rapidly, which is what most people come to me for. And I love to give you guys the tools to do this yourself. But I eat out quite a bit. I'm a dad. I travel a lot for work. Last weekend I was in New York and New Jersey for 4 days. Came home down half a pound. How? This is how. I actually walked a ton through New York the last couple days, and getting a lot of steps allows you the freedom to eat a lot of food without the risk of putting on any body fat. So for me, it's about balancing. Okay, if I want to enjoy some stuff, I'll just be a little bit more active, right? So what are my favorite sources of carbohydrates? When you're looking for a food source, look for something that contains mostly one macronutrient if you want to keep your calories in check. Things like rice, things like potatoes. Vegetables are wonderful. Why? Because not only are they low in calorie, but they contain a lot of micronutrients, a lot of fiber, which is going to keep you full. However, be careful. Too much vegetables can really cause some digestive distress and bloating, which isn't necessarily a terrible thing if you're trying to feel full. But, a serving of vegetables with each meal is going to go a long way. I think a lot of people demonize fruit. I eat a ton of fruit. I love bananas, blueberries, strawberries, all the things. Cantaloupes, things like that. Why? Again, micronutrients, you get that satiety feeling of something sweet. But again, there are no bad foods. I also eat ice cream and pizza. Now, one thing about me, I have a sensitivity to whey. So the proteins derived from milk mess me up. So I don't have whey protein. The supplement company, Core Nutritionals, that I work with, they helped me develop my own vegan protein powder. Why? Because I hated all the protein powders on the market that were vegan. They tasted like cardboard. So we have an amazing one, which makes me excited to have it. And that's half the battle. Finding foods that you want to eat on repeat. I pretty much eat the same couple meals all week long, right? I just vary the protein, vary the carb based on my mood. Every now and then I'm craving a burger or a pizza, or even, God forbid, I want to have some sugar. I'm a big Pop-Tart. I'm a big cereal eater. But again, sugar gets a little bit demonized because people have claimed that the insulin model of obesity is why we're gaining fat, which is completely incorrect because, yes, sugar spikes insulin, but so does protein. What really matters is if you're in a caloric surplus, because if you spike your insulin but you're in a caloric deficit, it is impossible to store body fat over a 24-hour period. However, you do not need insulin to store body fat. If you are eating too much nutritional fat, such as through a carnivore diet or a diet where you're getting most of your calories from fat, you're going to be very proficient at storing body fat through the excess calories from fat, because fat has more than twice as many calories as carbs and protein. But I don't want to get into a whole thing here about what diet style you use. If you're being accountable, then you can have whatever you want. And if you want to avoid an entire macronutrient group like fats, like carbs, then maybe you don't have to track. But I think you're going to be missing out on the balance of enjoying life and also potentially some performance benefits, because carbohydrates are great for performance, and fats, well, they're necessary to create the cascade of hormones that, drives us to be having great testosterone levels and things like that. So yeah, I guess this is all to say that there are no magic foods. Find the foods that work best for you. If you need a macro plan and a meal plan, go to prophysique.com/calculator. It's free there. And if you're looking for help in reaching your physique goals, set up a free consult. I'll put the link below. All right, guys, hopefully you enjoy this.